What's up, y'all? This is your girl Mel J, and I am here with a very tardy review of the Clark Sisters, the First Ladies of Gospel movie review. Let's get into it. We got Mel TV. So my friend asked me to open this review with my top 3 Clark Sister songs, and I tried my best, but being such a big fan, I couldn't come up with 3, so I have 5. My number 5 is Speak Lord. Absolutely love this song, and it features Karen as the lead, and she was about 16 or 17 when that song was released or when it was recorded. And her vocals were very mature, and she was very much anointed at a young age because this song is very moving. My number 4 is Jesus is a Love Song. This song is so beautifully written and composed. Shout out to Twinkie. Very, very beautiful song. Number 3 is Walking in the Spirit. Number 2 is Keeps Me Company. I absolutely love this song. It's so much fun. It has that same upbeat / disco tempo of You Brought the Sunshine. So if you haven't listened to it, take a listen. Click the link below. My number 1 Clark Sister song is Psalm 31. I love that scripture. So it's actually a prayer. And Maddie Moss Clark, she leads that song. And it features the Clark Sisters on the background vocals, but it's on the Clark Sisters album. Also, some mornings go into prayer and meditation with that song playing in the background. It kind of reminds you of Jesus is a Love Song as far as it being like real soft. It's not like a very overpowering like foot stomping, hand clapping song, but it just got you. For me, it easily guides me into prayer and meditation in the morning. So please take a listen to this song. And child, if you're not weeping at the end, something is wrong with you, okay? And I have to, just because I can't do right, add a bonus. And my bonus is Endow Me. I absolutely love that song, and it was almost my number 5, but I really love Speak Lord. And I love that song so much, Endow Me, that you know, when you really love a song and someone does a remake of it, you like, I don't know if I'm here for this. But Coco from SWV, about 10 years ago or so, she remade this song along with Faith Evans, Lil Mo, and Fantasia, and they killed it. If you recall that meme of Fantasia when like her head is back and her jaw is dropped, and someone is escorting her off the stage, that's the song they performed. And I believe it was at the BET Celebration of Gospel, but I love that song, and I just had to toss it in there. I kind of didn't know how I wanted to format this review because my thoughts were all over the place. Something that stood out the most to me was like the recurring topics, like what kept coming up in almost every scene. And there was family dysfunction, toxic church culture, patriarchy, and especially toxic masculinity. So that was those were the topics that were kind of guiding my thoughts, and I try not to allow my biases to impact the way I deliver my review, but child, I can't help it. I gotta give you my opinion. So let's start with production. Production, nailed it. Casting, nailed it. Shout out to Queen Latifah, Mary J. Blige, and Missy Elliott. Shout out to them for bringing them to the forefront of the world. For those who didn't know about them, perhaps the younger generation, they know now. So kudos and shout out to them. Like I said, as far as casting, each actress nailed the character. They nailed each sister that they played. But a special shout out goes to Anjanae Ellis. When I tell you, it was like looking at Dr. Maddie Moss Clark, listening to Dr. Maddie Moss Clark, like her mannerisms, especially her behavior, she killed it, and it came off effortlessly. I don't know how much, coaching and training that she had to prepare her for this role, but sis is none to be played with. So shout out to her. And I'm not gonna lie, I kind of had low expectations. I say low to medium expectations because it's a Lifetime movie, and Lifetime, they have screwed up some of the greats like Whitney Houston, and Toni Braxton. The only one that I've watched that they've gotten right is this one, the Clark sisters, and TLC. That one was okay, but and it seems like they had a pretty decent budget as well. It didn't come off low budget at all, so that part, can't say anything bad about it. I watched the movie the first night it aired, and there was a re-edit, and so when it aired again on Sunday, it wasn't the same film that they aired on Saturday night. So my review is going to be from my Saturday night notes. So if you hear me mention some stuff, and you like, I didn't see that, it's probably because you watched it after Saturday. You didn't watch it live Saturday, I guess I should say. And so I'm not just making up stuff. It was actually in the movie. So I was really disheartened that the movie didn't depict each sister's shortcomings fairly. It seemed like they primarily focused on Denise, and she was used as a sacrifice for drama. And I understand in film that it has to be someone, but I feel like it's enough of them that they could have displayed everyone's drama and not just focus on one person. Now, that's not to say everything that they showed about Denise wasn't true. Perhaps it was, but I feel like the mama had drama, the other sisters had drama, and like I said, I already had a pretty good knowledge of them individually just because I followed them and have followed them for a long time. I've watched interviews with them and others that know them, and I just feel like they left out a lot, but didn't seem to leave out a lot about Denise. So that's one critique that I had. So the movie opens up, I think it said like 1963, and Dr. Maddie, I guess she heard a melody in her sleep. She didn't have a way to record it, and her girls were her tape recorder, so she woke them up in the middle of the night, and she gave them, you know, their notes and gave them the melody of the song so she could remember it. And I watched the interview. I don't remember which, I think it was with all three sisters. They said their mom didn't have a tape recorder and they were the tape recorder. So anytime she heard something, she had to get it out of her head, because when they would go to choir rehearsal at church and she was introducing it to the choir, she would forget. So she had 4 people to remember, well, 5. And so the movie skips from when they were childhood to when they were teens, young adults. And it showed 2 of the siblings like cleaning up, and they came across the mom's records. I don't remember which siblings it was. I think it was Jackie and maybe Twinkie. I don't know. Nonetheless, it showed the mom's gold records. And, you know, one of the sisters was like, why can't mommy, or why doesn't mommy show her, you know, her records, her gold records? And the other sister, I believe it was Jackie, she said, you know, daddy won't allow that, and insert that toxic masculinity I was telling you about. The dad, who was like a pastor or a bishop in the church, he definitely wanted Dr. Maddie to be a sweet little submissive first lady. And she was a boss. You know, she was not, I won't say she wasn't the submissive type, but, you know, she had places to go, people to impress, and a message to spread. And she was also, I hope I get this right, but I'll flash it across the screen. She was also the minister of the international, I don't know. She had a charge to keep with the music department, and that came with a lot of sacrifice on the family, with her not being able to be there for him at certain events, and he wanted to, you know, have his wife on his arm, and she was like, nope, sorry, I gotta go. Oh, and Twinkie needs to come with me. And yeah, I'm going to talk about that as well. So one of the most entertaining parts of the film is when Dr. Maddie reared back and threw that shoe. Child, listen, I hollered so loud, especially when she called them some sorry sopranos, and she made her spit that gum out, and she told her, you might be able to sing now. Girl, she took no prisoners. She was no joke. And that shoe throwing and throwing of other items when you out key or you not singing your right note, that is so old school. But I thought that was hilarious. And so then she brings her girls down to have them sing it, and it showed that she had no shame in putting her girls up on a pedestal. That's how much faith she had in their talent, that she knew she can call them down and they was gonna kill it. I'm not exactly going into chronological order, but yeah, my notes are all over the place. But one of the things I wanted to talk about was when Dr. Maddie and her husband had an argument. So I think they had like 2 arguments, but one just went completely left when he put his hands on her. And Jackie went upstairs to try to get in their bedroom and couldn't, ran downstairs, tried to call for help. And the father struck her and told her to get out my house. You ain't my child. No way, because Dr. Maddie, she was married before. She had 2 children, so Leo and Jackie. Then she married Clark, so they refer to the father as Clark in the movie. She married him, and she had Denise, Twinkie, Dorinda, and Karen. And so he was just like, you can get out my house. But cut scene, she pulled up to Jackie on her job, and she came to get her baby because Jackie left, right? So she came to get her baby. She let her know, I divorced him. The house is mine. And mama wants you to come back home. And that was just a relief to see, because y'all, there's some sorry mammies out here. And the husband could beat her children. And, ooh, I ain't mean to cuss. I'm working on it. I'm saved, but I cuss a little bit. And so, but it's a lot of sorry mamas out here, and they'll let they husbands and boyfriends, you know, beat on their children and them and won't do anything about it. But she stood up in that scene and she was just like, he gone, come on back. So another scene that stood out was when Denise came home late and Twinkie was sitting at the table and they talked, and you know, Denise was saying, what is it that you want to do? You just gonna be playing the organ for mama your entire life? Like, what is it you want to do? What makes you happy? And, you know, I thought that was an important conversation. But, you know, to Twinkie, that was kind of a little rebellious. You know, this is what mama wants me to do. It's in the way of the Lord. I'm gonna do it. You know, no questions asked. And so then Dr. Maddie comes down and she starts getting on Denise's tail for coming in late all times of night. And so then there was an argument between them two that led to a backhand to the face. And, you know, she was like, why did you hit me? And it was just this huge argument. Dr. Maddie told Twinkie, like, you better talk to her. Both of us can't stay in this house. You know, she gonna have to go. I would have loved to see more context of their relationship. So it would have been nice to see them grow up as children, because that kind of just came quick. Like, you never saw throughout the entire film them bond and have a scene where it was just a loving, nurturing mother-daughter relationship. It was one scene that came close, but we're not gonna talk about that yet. Yeah, it seems like Twinkie and Denise had like a close relationship, and I think they maintained that throughout the years. Even now, just because I listened to some of the interviews that Denise has currently done, and she talks about how Twinkie is asking for her and she's having trouble getting to her sister. But I won't delve into that. If you want to explore that, you can go on YouTube and look it up. This morning at breakfast, it was tense. And Denise, she apologized to her sisters and she apologized to Dr. Maddie. And, you know, eventually the sisters ended up leaving the table and just left Dr. Maddie and Denise there to talk. This scene was very revealing. It just kind of summed up their relationship as far as the film goes, because she told Denise apologized, and Dr. Maddie told Denise, you know what, you can sing a run from Detroit to DC, but that's not your anointing. Your anointing is how you live your life. And she refers to her life as raggedy. She told her she was living a raggedy life. And Denise tries to explain and she just shuts her down, and she's like, you want some breakfast? And it just showed how she viewed Denise and how she had very low expectations for her. And that kind of stung. You know, her mom just put her in this box This the way you live your life. It's a regular life. It ain't in the way of Christ. You're not anointed. Your anointing is whatever you do out there in them streets. And that stung. And I can't imagine how that felt for her to hear that. And I'm pretty sure those weren't the exact words, because who was there to recount that story, right? No one. Because according to the movie, they got up and left. Dr. Maddie been gone, and Denise didn't have any input in the movie. But I think that scene was important because it did kind of summarize their relationship. So, and the movie from there goes on to just show how their relationship was always filled with conflict and disagreement. They always butted heads, and Dr. Maddie, it never showed them bond. And I would have loved to see that, because you're not telling me that was their relationship from the time Denise was born to the time Dr. Maddie passed away. I would have loved to see a scene with them having a conversation like she did with the other daughters, you know. So Denise, she gets pregnant, right? And they're getting ready for a performance. They're backstage getting ready. She makes a comment about their gowns and was saying, you know, she's going to need hers altered for the next 7 months because she's pregnant. And of course, the sisters were very shocked, seemingly, and very disappointed. And so Dr. Maddie walks in and she's like, what's taking y'all so long? Come on, chop, chop, let's go. And she's like, where's your gown? And, you know, everybody looking wise and otherwise. And so Denise says, I'm pregnant. Dr. Maddie was like, okay, and so where's your gown? Get it. Here you go. Put your gown on. She was like, oh, when you left this in the car, she stuck a little bow on her head. And she was like, all right, y'all, get ready. And, you know, going back to what I said, she had very low expectations for her. So when she found out she was pregnant, it was just like, all right, girl, the show must go on. I already told you your life was raggedy. I told you this wasn't your anointing. I knew this was going to happen sooner or later. And here we are. I was expecting her mom to blow up. And I believe in real life she did. I don't think it went over that smooth at all. But I was expecting that to be a scene, child. I knew that she became pregnant at an early age. And she had a child or a few children out of wedlock. But because it was such a big deal when it happened. And even years later, after her children was adults, I thought that was going to be like one of the biggest scenes of the film, and it wasn't. But what I wish they would have explored is exactly how old she was, because she was very young, and also who the child's father was, because she was impregnated by a bishop at the church. That's something to talk about. That's something to explore, but going back to, what I was saying, some of the recurring topics of toxic masculinity and patriarchy and things like that, especially within the church culture, women are held to a different standard than men. And men's dirt is overlooked, covered up, while the women are, held to the fire. Like, it is still like that today. There's still women in the church having babies and stuff like that. But within a Kojic denomination, I think if you are like out in the public and you're a public figure, and you're representing that church and you're representing that denomination, the same thing that happened then, with it being a big deal and it being a controversy, it would happen now. Twinkie, she's on the piano and she's writing You Brought the Sunshine, and she was inspired by one of my favorite artists, Stevie Wonder, Master Blaster song, and it came from the Hotter Than July album. And of course they were forbidden from listening to secular music, but they were kids, they did it anyway. And so she introduced the song to the sisters, and they were like, hey, that sounds familiar. And they kind of laughed about that, but she taught them the song. They sang it to Dr. Maddie, and initially she was just like, I don't know about that. But by her not knowing it was a secular song, she went for it. She was just like, you can perform it. And Karen was like, so we can perform it. She was just like, yeah. She was just like, but you need to practice. You're gonna have to be ready. If it was not for that song, with that pop feel, with that R&B appeal, that made it a crossover song and broke the barriers that it did, we would have not had this film. They wouldn't have touched the likes of Queen Latifah, Mary J. Blige, Missy Elliott, and there's several other artists that say that the Clark sisters are their inspiration, like Mariah Carey. Whitney Houston was one that spoke of them all the time, and so was Faith Evans. So if it wasn't for that song, the world would not know who the Clark sisters are. So maybe those who are in the church world would know, but they definitely wouldn't have had a Lifetime movie. Thank God that happened the way it did, with it just kind of, going under the radar with Dr. Maddie, that there was a secular beat and it was inspired by a secular song. And it just goes to show that secular music does have a place in this world. Music inspires, music uplifts, and that song is still played to this day, and it's still a bop. Still a bop. So that leads me to the next scene. When they were rehearsing and Dr. Maddie mentions that it seemed like it wasn't a big deal to her at all. She was just like, got something in the mail about a Grammy. Y'all were nominated, blah, 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 blah. They go crazy. And she's like, what's wrong with y'all? And they was just like, Mama, that's a Grammy. Like, that's a big deal. They performed You Got the Sunshine at the Grammys. They only had I think it was 2 minutes or something like that. So Dr. Maddie was like, we gonna have to kill it. And so they did. That scene, well, not that scene, but the actual clip of them at the Grammys. It's on YouTube. Check it out. So they performed on the Grammys, and then Dr. Maddie coattail was pulled, and she had to go before the bishops who governed the Kojic denomination. She offered an apology. They told her, you can no longer perform with your daughters, and they broke her heart. She was like, no, those my girls. Y'all trying to separate me from my girls. And they was just like, you know what, this ain't no 2 for 1. We said what we said. You dismissed. And she's walking out, and she turns back around, and she was just like, this not right, blah, 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 blah. And so I watched an interview with her oldest grandchild, who's Larry. That's Denise's firstborn. And he said he was raised by his grandmother. He took kind of an issue with him not being shown in the movie, which I didn't have a problem that he wasn't shown. But he said he knew his grandmother very well because he spent, all of his childhood and part of adulthood with her until she passed. He said there's no way she would have ever turned around and gave it to him like that. So that doesn't take anything away from Dr. Maddie at all, because we know she was a very strong-willed woman. But I could believe it. Women back then didn't talk back to the officials at the church. They just didn't, especially with the position she held. She didn't want to be stripped of that. And there was just a sacrifice she was going to have to take for her girls to be successful. She didn't want to cause any more controversy. If you tell me I can't perform with my daughters anymore, then I just won't. Which was very sad, because I thought that was so cute that they performed together. So, yeah. So that type of carrying on in the church with the hierarchy, the top officials and stuff, with all the rules and regulations, especially specific to dominations, is why a lot of people, especially in my generation and the generation under me, take issue with the church. And it's why a lot of them don't go. And it wasn't until, so I didn't grow up Kojic. I grew up Pentecostal Apostolic, which there's a lot of parallels between the two denominations, a lot. But I do know it wasn't until I went to a non-denominational church and just got away from structured religion, under a domination, is when I grew closer to God, and when my faith grew larger. And it's because I wasn't governed so much by wear this, don't wear that, don't listen to this, don't come in here like that, don't say that, don't do this. And I could just freely worship with no judgment, and it allowed me to be able to receive the message at church better, form relationships and not be afraid to form relationships at church. So, and not saying that I've escaped any church hurt or anything like that, because that still happens, but I feel like it wasn't for me being under a denomination, especially one strict as Kojic, Pentecostal Apostolic, and other denominations. I had to get away from that. And so that song took off, and then it shows like a lot of their Billboard hits from that album, which is my favorite Clark Sister albums. And I believe all of those songs, maybe with the exception of Speak Lord, came from that album, where they charted a lot of hits. So from that album, Dr. Maddie was able to land them a really good recording deal to bounce them back from what Twinkie did, which I left out. Twinkie sold the entire catalog of songs in exchange for I was about to say a Cadillac, but it wasn't a Cadillac, it was a Lincoln Continental. And you know, Dr. Maddie got on her pretty tough, sitting around the table getting ready to sign. Everyone has a pen. Denise sitting there, mama side-eyeing. And she like, Denise, is there a problem? You okay? She was like, yeah, I'm okay. I'm not signing this contract, but I'm okay. I'm like, here we go. Dorinda said something about you always trying to sabotage the group. Jackie, she said something to the effect of, you already had 3 babies out of wedlock. I'm like, girl, that ain't got nothing to do with nothing. Even more reason, if you take issue with that, why you shouldn't want her in the group. And she's saying she's not going to sign a contract. So then Dr. Maddie asked, why do you hate me so much? And she was just like, Mama, I don't hate you. But I feel like I always, you know, got the scraps. You gave your all to the church. You gave your all to the choir. You gave your all to Dorinda, Twinkie, Jackie, and Karen. And I got whatever was left over. You know, I felt that. And I feel like it could be some truth to that. Then Dorinda tells her, you know, you my sister, but you are so hard to love. And, you know, that's when Denise was just like, I'm out of here. And so that was the end of her career with the Clark sisters. So I could be wrong, but it's my estimation that Denise said and did what the others wanted to say and do, and just didn't have the fearlessness to do so because they were governed so much by their mom. So it could have been a thing of envy there. Like, damn, I wish I could, you know, stand up for myself like you do. I wish I could go out and party and hang out like you do because I want to. But, you know, Mama said and the church said, and she didn't care nothing about what Mama said. The church said she did what she wanted to do. And she felt like she could do both. She felt like she could deliver a message of the Lord and still live the lifestyle that she did, and most of the gospel artists that we know do. You know, she was just more out there with hers. And in a time back then where, you know, there wasn't any social media and nothing like that, it's not like the world knew. You know, the church knew, and the mama and the sisters just couldn't handle that type of scrutiny. They couldn't. So yeah, I really feel like they wish they had that courage, that courageous spirit to live their life like she did. So in an interview that Denise did not too long ago, she said, listen, I had my babies. I can't tell you what my sisters did with theirs. And I read between the lines. I understood what she was saying. So clearly those sisters did live a life, you know, at least according to her. I won't say they did, but according to her, they did. But I do think that they wish they could have been as bold as Denise, because that's what I saw. To me, she wasn't rebellious, like too rebellious, because most PKs, preachers' kids, once they get a certain age, they want to, you know, cut loose. And around the time they were signing that contract, it was like 85, 86. It was somewhere in like the mid 80s, I'll say. Denise was in her mid 30s. She gave the Clark sisters her best years. Her childhood, her teen years, all her 20s, and part of her 30s. If she want to walk away, so be it. And you know, they went on to have hits after her. My favorite Clark Sister songs are the ones with Denise on there. You know, I like the album from 2008, and I like Twinkie's, Dorinda's, and Karen's. I like their solo records, but nothing compares to those late 70s, early 80s records, like nothing. And there's also been an ongoing conversation over the past week on social media and the blogs and on YouTube videos about Jackie not being a Clark, right? But her not actually being, or technically being, a Clark sister, which to me is neither here nor there in Delaware, right? Like, but when I thought about it, that could have been the rift between Jackie and Denise, because Denise is the oldest Clark sister, but Jackie was seemingly always like in charge, like she was mama's go-to. You know, she was considered, because she was the oldest girl. So Dr. Maddie was married, previously married, where she had Leo and Jackie. Then, you know, the other girls, like I said, by her husband, who they referred to as Clark. So yeah, that could have been like, because they, every time they showed them together talking, they was into it from the beginning to the end. They was into it about something that could have been the riff, like, I'm the oldest. Well, no, technically I'm the oldest, and it could have been where they bumped heads. Also, they are two very strong-willed, opinionated, ain't finna back down people. So there's that. And going back to Dr. Maddie's and Denise's relationship, they had to have been looking into a mirror when Dr. Maddie looked at Denise, because Denise, just like Dr. Maddie, they were very steadfast and unmovable in what they, you know, believed. Neither one of them were backing down. And they would, you know, go at people. They didn't have a problem being vocal and speaking up. And, you know, I'm just assuming, this is just my estimation, that could have been where they had a lot of conflict. They were the same. And y'all, this is kind of random, but I put it in my notes. But in every scene, Jackie, she made sure that we were gonna know she was a nurse, and she had all of the certifications and credentials. And it was like, if she didn't have on the scrubs, like I remember one of the earliest scenes, she had on like the white dress with the hat. Then another scene, she had on the scrubs. Then another scene, she running through the back, and she was like, oh, I just got off work, I'm late. And she had on her scrubs, and oh my god, like, it was mentioned so much. And so then on her IG, like a week or so ago, she had on her scrubs and she was still working. I'm like, get it, girl. It makes me think of Twinkie and how she gave up her education at Howard University. And her mom actually made her choose. I am so hoping that was just Twinkie's choice, and, you know, they just had some creative control, so they made it seem like the mama made her choose, because education, especially back then, wasn't afforded to a lot of people. That was so disheartening. That was. And so, you know, she chose to be the organist and writer and composer for the group, which I'm glad she did. We saw how that turned out. But, you know, and fast forward, I'm going to skip around a little bit. When she had like a nervous breakdown post the mom's death, I believe that had to be one of the things that led to the breakdown. Like, I didn't live my life the way I wanted to. And, you know, go back to that scene when Denise was like, girl, what you want to do? You better do what you want to do. Live your life. And that's why I so much agreed with that, because when you live for other people, and you get to like a certain age in your life, like that, middle age, 40s and 50s, and you look back and you accomplish everything someone else wanted you to accomplish, and you didn't scratch anything off your bucket list or whatever your goals were, that will lead you to a breakdown. So, you know, it's some lessons and takeaways to take away from this movie, and one is, do you. Now going back, Twinkie randomly meets this guy in this random staircase, and he introduces himself, and he says he's John Terrell. She introduces herself. Next thing we know, they're engaged, and she's announcing to her sisters and her mom that she's engaged. The sisters weren't here for it. So Twinkie, she wasn't just going to get married and stay in the group. She was going to get married and leave the group. And I kind of understood that, because she has been at her mama's side since she was a child on that organ. And so she got married in the late 80s, so they put her in her late 30s, you know. So I I could understand that, but the sisters weren't here for it. They were just like, we married, we have children, and we can do it. And that was kind of to her point. She was just like, yeah, you got married, I was happy for you, be happy for me. And she asked each of them to be happy for her, and they was like, no, I'm gonna be able to do it. Like, I'm happy for you, but why can't you stay in the group? She moved to one of the Carolinas. I don't remember which one, but she came to the house to tell her mom bye. And they got into an argument, and one of the things that stood out to the most in that conversation was the mama saying, you need me. And Twinkle was just like, well, you know what? You need me too. You need an organ player. Another thing she said that hit me in the gut. She was just like, you ain't good for nothing but making bad decisions and mistakes. And it was true. It was somewhat true. But here's the thing. Dr. Maddie was responsible for that because she never allowed her to leave her side, right? She did the thinking for her. She never taught her how to think. She just gave instruction, and Twinkie carried out. She was never able to have that freedom to live her life, so she never had any decisions to make. Her mom made the decisions for her life. So I don't know how much of this scene was accurate as far as what they said, but if she, because her mom referred to her, she was like, you a child. And she said that in another scene. She was just like, you got the body of a woman and such of a woman, but you a child. And that's because you didn't let her leave, and I worked in the early childhood field for quite some time now, and I've been a teacher too. I worked in social services, but now I work in higher ed where I teach teachers, and one thing that I teach them is to give children freedom within limitations, right? Allow them to make choices, because if you make choices for them, or if someone makes choices from them from birth to 18, once they go out in the world, they don't know how to think. They don't know how to make decisions. And so that reminded me of Twinkie and her mom. And when her mom said, you only good for bad decisions and mistakes, well, So then John, he comes in, and I'm thinking he about to kind of calm them down and break them up. He pushes them up in the staircase. Y'all know within the black community, we don't play about our granny, big mama, muddy, and nobody else. So the way they just left and it went to the next scene with them being in the Carolinas, whichever Carolina they was in, that didn't make sense to me because I want to know what happened. So then I watched the interview with the oldest grandson, Larry, and he said that actually happened. And he was just like, I don't want to talk bad about my Uncle John. That's my Uncle John. And I'm like, why not? He pushed your grandmama. Like, oh my God. I couldn't imagine. I could not imagine. But he did say that some people in the family were looking for him. And it was like a really big deal. And the film didn't explore that. Twinkie, she's in whichever Carolina. John out doing whatever he want to do, and he comes in and he getting on her about the place not being clean and where's the money. And she like, the money's spent. He was like, where's that van? She was like, it's spent. I spent it on bills, and going back to what her mama knew she wasn't gonna be able to function in the marriage, and especially not with that deadbeat. Like, he saw her coming. He saw a meal ticket, and that's what he used her for. And it was so unfortunate because when she became engaged, I know it happened quick. I just thought they cut out the scenes of them courting for the sake of time of the film. I was initially happy for her, right? And then it turns out like she didn't meet her forever, and that was kind of sad. And so here's another tear-jerking moment when I was about to say Dr. Jackie. Child, this is not Married to Medicine. I'm probably thinking Dr. Jackie because she always got on scrubs. But anyway, she came with her scrubs on to check on her mom. And the tear-jerking moment is when she gave her this gift and she opened it up and it was some britches. I was like, look. And so for the young viewers and for those who are north of the Mason-Dixon line, britches are pants. I just thought that was so sweet, and it was an acknowledgement that I want to support you. It also showed the shift in Dr. Maddie's mindset and her, coming around and being more accepting. So I thought that was so cute and sweet. And then Jackie looks down and she looks at her mom's foot and it's bleeding. And she like, you're not taking care of yourself. You're not taking your medicine. And she started with that old church people rhetoric. You know what God told me? And it's like, you know what? Don't start. Because he didn't. And she was just like, he told me I am healed. No, he didn't. He told you to stop eating these salty corn chips and to take your medication. She pleased with her mom to take her medicine, but it cut scene to her being on her deathbed ultimately. There she was asking for Jackie and Twinkie, and Jackie said, no, not Jackie. She was asking for Twinkie and Denise. And Jackie, told her, I left some messages with them, but Jackie was kind of looking like they ain't coming. And that was so sad. And so Dr. Maddie, she passed away. And so then they showed the funeral. And the way this funeral was depicted was so far away from reality, because I watched, and they've removed the full funeral from YouTube, but at one point it was on there because I watched this some years ago. My friends be getting on me, they be laughing at me because I be watching people's funeral on on YouTube, but I'm nosy like that. But I don't like to go in real life, and I won't go to a funeral in real life unless it is like a close family member. Funerals creep me out. But anyway, so yeah, I know that it was far from reality because I actually saw the funeral, but that clip of Denise is actually still on YouTube. I have it below in the description box. So it shows Denise, kind of walk in. It made it seem like she was disruptive. One of the sisters was like, what's she doing here? And I'm like, that's her mama. Why would she not be here? And it shows her get up there. She's talking. And then she introduces her 7 sons. What they didn't say is 4 of those children were by her husband. It made it seem like she had 4 more children out of wedlock, right? If you watch the actual scene, whoever was emceeing the services, he called her name from the program, and she came up and she spoke and she sang, did a good job, shook some hands of the people behind her, and she left. And then her brother Leo, they called her brother Leo up, and he came and he talked all that drama. And it's like, why did she have to be used for that? Now here's what I do believe to be factual, just because several family members have recounted this almost verbatim. The scene outside with her trying to get in a service car. Why do we do that? Y'all, in my family on both sides, I can tell you stories of folk clowning, cutting up about that service car. And death can bring out the worst in people, and a lot of people don't know how to deal with their emotions. So to me, that wasn't a big deal that they got into it outside, because like I said, my family, I can tell you stories, and to this day I'm more like, so where is it? I'll meet y'all there. I don't even follow the car because I don't want to be there to witness folk get into it. And the last time that happened, I think that was 2014. And child trauma. But they got into it. The sad part about that is Denise acknowledged that was the last time she talked to her sister. So the accuracy in this scene when she was just like, y'all ain't got to worry about me no more. Hell, she meant it. That is so sad. And so like I did mention that family dysfunction was something that was just a recurring topic or theme throughout this film. And it was just sad because the family is divided, and it makes me wonder about like the cousins, especially like the first cousins, the sister's children, like what's their relationship like? And now they're having children. So what happens with the family? Yeah. So everything from there was just rushed. And I watched the night it aired. So that's with the uncut scenes. And so it showed from there Dorinda standing over a bridge for a few seconds, contemplating suicide. It showed Twinkie being admitted to a mental health hospital. The edited cut all of that out. The edited version didn't show any of that. which made me sad a little bit. Like, why not? Did it happen? Put it in there. But the original movie, I think, was 2 hours and 36 minutes. But I feel like it was some other things they could have cut other than that. Especially with mental health being such a big movement right now, being such an important topic, I feel like they should have left it. Dorinda has done several interviews, where she talked about how she contemplated suicide, and you know, from there came from her song Still Here, which I absolutely love. But that's necessary, and I feel like it should show it's okay if you need to check yourself into a hospital because you feel like you're going to be a danger to yourself or to others, to go. But like I said, that was cut out. So I think this movie would have worked as a mini-series, something like the Jackson 5. I actually, y'all, this shows my age and how good my memory is. I remember when that movie aired. I remember like the previews and all, like the build up to the movie, and it aired on a Monday night at 7 o'clock on ABC, and it was like from 7 to 10, and then it ended from that Saturday, that following Friday from 7 to 10. And I feel like this movie should have been formatted in that way because they left out so much, and they are important in music history. They are important in women's history. They are important in gospel history. So they deserve to have a miniseries. But, you know, I know that comes with a lot of, you know, budget issues and all kind of different agreements and shopping it around to a network that would accept that. I've never known Lifetime to do a miniseries, so you know, maybe they were unwilling to do it. But I feel like the movie would have worked in that context because I would have loved to see Dr. Maddie Moss Clark grow up. Like, what was her upbringing in Alabama? What led her to Detroit? And I would have liked to see her solo career. I wanted to see her first marriage. What happened, child? Then her second marriage. I wanted to see more because Clark didn't stay in the scene that long. Well, he didn't stay in the movie that long, rather. I would have loved to see that. I would have loved to see the girls grow up. They only showed them for like 2 minutes as children. I want to know what was their childhood like. You know, they say in so many interviews that their mom was rarely home because she was on the road. I wanted to see what they looked like when she was gone. I would have liked to see their marriages explored more. I wanted to see more of Twinkie's marriage. So it showed Jackie get married, but it didn't show the others get married. I think they took out Dorinda's engagement too. I believe they left in Karen's, but they took out Dorinda's engagement. I wanted to see their relationships and what they looked like. You know, how did they date? When were they allowed to date? Did they date more people before they, you know, found their fiance and got married? I would have liked to see the oldest son and what he was around there doing, because he's like mid to late 70s, maybe close to 80. So he probably was out the house and gone like in the 50s. But still, I want to know a little bit about his life. That's Dr. Maddie Moss' son. You know, the movie focused a lot on her. Yeah, and I understand they couldn't jam pack that all in 2 hours because you see what they did at the end of the film. It's like she dead, she finished jump off a bridge, she in a mental health hospital. Oh, now we about to perform our new song from our 2008 album, and it's like then it was gone off, and I'm like, so yeah, y'all. Let's have a discussion about this film. Drop down in the comments and let me know what you think. What were some of your takeaways? Did you like the film? Did you dislike the film? What was your prior knowledge of the Clark sisters? So let's just have a discussion about it. Drop down in the comments. Let me know what you think. And I will see y'all later. Peace.